For more on this, we joined by energy analyst and SA Independent Power Producers Association committee member, Brian Day. Brian, good to have you with us this evening here on News at Prime. Eskom says the intention is to lift load shedding in 10 days' time. That's Jan Oberholzer. He says, however, risks remain due to the unpredictability and unreliability of the system. Something is being said there. What does it translate to mean in terms of what is currently happening on the ground?
Good evening, and thank you for having me on again. I think the reality is that for a number of years, the system has been getting to a point where the strike was, if you like, the straw that broke the camel's back. I think we can commiserate with the Eskom staff who are working around the clock, not just to hold the fort during the unrest, but to recover the system so that they can get to a point of lifting load shedding. But I think, this specific short-term incidence of load shedding is not new. We're in a protracted time of load shedding dating back all the way to 2008. We've had it getting worse the last few years. We know that it was kept artificially low around 5-6 years ago, and that's in fact exacerbating the problem today. So I go back to something that I said last time when I was on, and something which the broader population I think is starting to share. The National Planning Commission has published an article last week calling for the urgent build of new capacity, including storage capacity, because we know that new renewable capacity on its own doesn't solve all the problems. There is a variability in terms of when that is provided, notwithstanding that as you distribute those facilities across the country in different climate regimes, that you overcome a lot of that variability, but you still do need more and more storage. I think the additional capacity that is being spoken of as an emergency will also allow us to better utilize Eskom's pump storage scheme, which is over 3 gigawatts of pump storage. And even though that is a net consumer of electricity, because it has a 78% round trip efficiency, it still gives you the capacity to deliver electricity during the peaks, and that is incredibly powerful. But I think even President Ramaphosa, in his letter to the nation this week, spoke about the need for an emergency response. And this is something that is gaining more credibility across the spectrum, because it solves a lot of different things, including from an Eskom perspective, where such additional capacity will allow Eskom to take the right amount of plant off for maintenance for a longer period of time, to do deeper maintenance, and like putting your car in for a proper rebuild, allowing it to go in for a week or two, rather than just trying to rush a quick service in a day. So I think we're in a protracted duration of load shedding, because even new capacity isn't going to come on stream overnight. There's still a development and a construction timeline. So the reality is 2, 3, 5 years from now is only the timeline where I think we can realistically feel that we're going to turn the corner properly.
So, I mean, we should expect to stay maybe on stage 2, stage 4 load shedding, or do you see it now and again also proceeding to stage 6, at least for the next 24 months? Andre de Ruyter once again saying that they need that 6,000 megawatts of capacity generated in order for them to be able to have breathing room, as you put it, to conduct the maintenance that they need to conduct on the current fleet of our power stations.
Absolutely. So I'm not suggesting that we'll have constant load shedding week in and week out. I think there'll be times when we won't have load shedding, and then it'll come back, because it will be kind of cyclical and intermittent, depending on the failures of Eskom plant, depending on the amount of capacity for maintenance. For example, I saw today that the unit at Kuiberg has had a 2-week delay, so that's That's also a significant impact. That's 900 megawatts. That's almost a stage of load shedding in itself. So I think we're going to have a mixed bag over the coming months and years of some stages when we can breathe a sigh of relief and have no load shedding, and then days or weeks where we're back to the load shedding again. So I think that's the unpredictability that Mr. Allwalder talks about, and it's not something that we can easily predict. But I think even in terms of the strike action, that's what you have reserve margin for. And I think Eskom for years had a very healthy reserve margin. They talk about somewhere around the 15% level, and that's what it's there for, is when things go wrong, when the unplanned issues happen. Whether that's severe weather events, whether it's strike action, whether it's a sudden cold front increase in demand. But unfortunately, when you raise a fin and your reserve margin is essentially being fully utilized, you then have a severe event like the strike, and it has a much bigger impact than we could actually have imagined.
Yeah. Nuclear leadership also seemingly a little bit unstable at the moment. We've got acting managers there. We've got two that we have lost with a great deal of experience. Could that be putting our nuclear program also in a little bit of a challenge?
I don't think so. I read Eskom's news release on that, and while obviously it's a loss to lose the people that they are losing and the experience that they've got, but if you look at the durations of the experience in the nuclear field of the people that are being brought in an acting capacity and recruitment processes underway, it gives me confidence that Eskom's nuclear management at Kuiberg is very well handled. It doesn't bring me any greater concern. I think obviously there have been challenges around the program there to replace the steam generators, and that was actually put on hold. The rest of the work was still done. It was going to be the same duration, but now it's actually longer. So there are still challenges, but I wouldn't suggest that there are critical skills shortages from what I saw in the press release today.
Energy expert Brian Day, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on tonight.